Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our second session of the day. So, this session is where we move from listening to doing, to listening to stories of change, to a collective act of transformation and change. And I am Yvette. I am a Hong Kong Olympian and the founder of Aerolix. So in my life, as an Olympian and an educator, I have learned one very simple but powerful thing. That resilience is not a trait, it's a practice.
And welcome everybody, I'm Anna. I'm a very proud social member from Project Mellow and a student from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So while Yvette talked about her Olympian to entrepreneurship journey, I'll just share with you my life quote. Life influence life. So in classroom, teachers influence students, and in turn, students influence teachers as well. And today, we're gonna link our laureate stories to yours. And maybe your story will also inspire our laureates as well. So I know you have coffee already, so stay energetic, because today, we're exploring not just what our laureates achieve, but also their doubts, their realizations, and their turning points that shapes their journey forward.
Yes, and we'll connect these stories back to you. So today is not just about listening to stories of change, it is also about finding one inside you. So as we begin, I invite you to stay open to possibilities, open to imagination, and open to your newer self. And you know, this room holds 400 different journeys. There are a few hundred people here right now, 400 unique journeys, but one shared future. So let's step into it now.
Oh, wait a second. I know, look around you. We have students, educators, leaders, and philanthropists. So this audience actually represents a vast ecosystem of change.
That's true. So if you are an educator, maybe a principal, a teacher, professor, or someone who's working at an organization dedicated to education, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Wow. Oh, hello, Mrs. Lau. I see my high school principal. Very cool, very cool.
And finally, I know we have students here as well from secondary school and universities. And where's my peers from Project Mellow? Who's here representing students like me?
Give me some noise. Yay.
Welcome. So whether you're teaching or learning, leading or guiding, your journey and your challenge are our focus today. So thank you for being here.
So let us start with something different, shall we? Okay, let's do a guided visualization. So let's start with a moment of reflection. We can dim the lights a bit and find a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Okay, take a deep breath. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Through your nose. Deep breath in through your nose. Now exhale through your mouth. Relax your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. When the body softens, the mind opens. So let's do a little time traveling. Think of a moment that changed how you see the world. Maybe it's a student's question that made you rethink your work. Maybe it's a moment of learning that forced you to begin again. What is that moment? Maybe it's a realization that told you, something is ready for growth.
And now, place yourself on the life ahead of you. Are you a student, an early professional, an educator, or a leader? What is one struggle throughout your journey in education that feels most active right now? What's holding you back from your next step?
Maybe it's pressure, maybe it's fear, or maybe it's expectation. And whatever you name it in your mind, it's okay. It is not a flaw, it is just a deeper understanding of yourself and your journey. Now, name that feeling quietly in your mind. That is your growth point, the resistance that defines your turning point.
And now, open your eyes. We're gonna turn that feeling into data and then into transformation. So let's get the Mentimeter on the screen, and please kindly scan the QR code on the screen and you'll see a question. It's one word that defines the biggest barrier you're currently facing on your path forward. So for me, it's really the word expectation. So I still remember growing up in Hong Kong, I have this rigid sequence. Selecting a subject in Form 3 that needs to guarantee me with a top undergrad program. And now I'm in my final year. I need to select a high-paying job because of one mindset, to maximize return upon my education. So tell me, what's the biggest barrier you're facing right now?
I'm seeing words like stress, doubts, resources, anxiety.
And self-doubt.
It's all very true. I had a lot of fear actually when I was pursuing the Olympics. I was having the fear of failure, and I only managed to get out of it and have a breakthrough when I changed my mindset.
I think while we're seeing this growing wall of word cloud, you'll see that regardless of our role as educators or learners, we all share the same barriers, the same mental barriers that we're currently facing. And the beauty is, these same words, resources, time, self-doubt, stress, appear in the stories of our laureates too.
That's right, our 3 laureates have faced the same words in their own journey, and that turned them into systems that changed lives. And this collective map right here tells us that we are not alone. We're on separate journeys, maybe, but we are not alone.
And I know right now you're wondering why Yvette and I has been standing here while you missed our amazing laureates. So now let's bring them back on stage. Please welcome Dr. Ramini from Pratham, Professor Usha from Cambridge, and Angie from Camfed.
Hello, welcome back on stage. How does it feel?
Much better.
Much better? Okay.
Now we have a comfy sofa.
Yes, so while we have heard about our amazing laureates sharing their journey, the moments of challenge, the small acts of defiance, and the mindset to trust. So I'm sure that in the audience here, whether as an educator, a change maker, a student, or a parent, you might have experienced similar situations and have many pressing questions of your own.
So now we're actually shifting from listening to asking. Previously, we have gathered some questions from the audience from the first sections. And first, I want to direct the questions to Angie. So our audience has been asking, well, what do you wish every girl in the world knew about themselves and their education?
Anna, I thought we were friends. Well, one thing that I wish every girl knows is that they matter, that they are important, that they are here not by accident. There's a reason and a purpose while they are still breathing, while they are still in this room. Never forget that and never doubt that. And about their education, it's for them to know that it's supposed to be their right. The world is not working like that right now, but it's not a favor. It's supposed to be your right. So lean onto it and do the best that you can with the opportunity that you have. Enjoy life. Don't take yourself too seriously. Life is serious enough without that. But you matter.
Very inspiring answer, thank you. And I have a question from the audience to Usha. Usha, can you tell us more about how you got over the difficult time you had? A lot of students experience stress and they cannot work to achieve their potential. So as a teacher, we need to encourage them, support them, but on their side, what do they need to do for teachers?
So are you referring to the chronic fatigue problem, or are you referring to just having to keep persisting when teachers were not supportive?
Well, the question was for the audience, but is the person who's asking the question, oh, here, wonderful.
What I meant was the difficult years that your professor actually supports you. So your professor has done his best, but on your side, what are the things that you actually do?
Okay, so I think when I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, there was no understanding of what the illness was. I think since long COVID came, there is more understanding that the immune system, so I get a lot of upper respiratory tract issues, and sometimes the immune system can just go down the wrong path. And so instead of your body getting rid of the virus, it's as though every day is like the first day of that illness. And the only medical advice is to rest and not get stressed. Now, it's quite hard to run a lab, at Cambridge University without getting stressed. So really what I did, first of all, it was very hard to get any energy back. So I spent literally months lying at home on my sofa. Again, you've always got to see the silver lining. So this was a period at which my daughter, who was 15 at the time, was having to start all her exams at school. And so we actually spent much more time together than we would have done if I hadn't been ill, because she was always doing her revision and her homework, and I was lying on this sofa. And the other thing was I had to provide meals. And I think it's really important that you don't just take to your bed and never move at all. So although you feel it's impossible to move, you actually can cook. You just stand up for 5 minutes, maybe fry some onions, lie down again, stand up, add the chicken or whatever, lie down again, and you can get through it. And so it's having these small goals. And then because I was in a university system, I could read all the latest information on Medline about what people thought chronic fatigue was. And I tried lots of different therapies, most of which are a nonsense. So one theory was that your body's gone into hibernation. So I bought one of those very bright lights so that I was always having this very bright light to get out of hibernation. But I think the thing that made the difference was taking the gut microbiome seriously. I really believe this idea that what you eat, the bacteria in your gut, they do control your immune system and your general health. And so I just made much more effort to try and eat more healthy, less processed food, really lots of green vegetables. But you have to do it for months and months and months. So when I look back, I think what happened was I spent about 3 years with the physical illness. But then when I was trying to resume my levels of activity, I would have relapses. And I think the relapses were because of a kind of classical conditioning that you're trying to protect your body. So, for example, if I was senior examiner and we were coming up to the most, crucial part of the examining weeks, that's when I would have a relapse, even though I'd done all the resting and got ready for the exams. But it was because at some subconscious level, my body was tripping me up. And that's the hardest thing to overcome, is the subconscious protective factors that your body puts in place. And I actually tried something called the lightning therapy. So you can look it up online. It's lightning.com. It's meant to mean enlightening. And, I read the website. It had all this neuroscience, this, that, and it just sounded like a total load of nonsense. But in the end, you've got no choices. I kept being ill. And so I thought, OK, I'll go and do this training course. And I think it was effective because it was the social brain. So you could not have therapy by yourself. You had to have it in a group of other people who were suffering something similar, and you had to all overcome it together. You had to model, how do I go to a conference and give a keynote? What are the steps I can take that I will be able to achieve that? Or any other challenge that you might be worried about. And it's very simple psychology, but doing it in a group somehow made a massive difference. So what I would say is if you have any serious illness, you must never give up belief that you will get better. And then you just need to find as many sources of information yourself as you can, because for me, the doctors were just saying, well, there's nothing we can do, just don't get stressed.
Thank you. And there's a follow-up question on that, and that you mentioned in your story just now that you have faced a couple challenges became turning points in your life. So when you faced skepticism, what was your mindset to overcome them? And when do you learn to trust your own data when the world doubted it?
Yeah, I think the skepticism, so I always dislike unfairness. And some of the reviews I got on my papers were so unfair. You know, things like, this woman is on a fishing expedition, she doesn't even understand what she's measuring. This whole work is a waste of time, why is she applying it to other languages? And that kind of setback actually made me more determined. I thought the fact I've got graduate students going around the world all getting similar data sets, it means something important. I don't know what it means yet, but we just need to get more data. And so we kept collecting data, and then, 10 years later, there was this new insight from adult neuroscience which made sense of the whole thing. But I really believe that if you are finding something interesting, use the scientific method to keep taking the next step. Get more data, get more data. It will always shape your next experiment or your next question. And data are neutral in a way, but if you get enough data, people can't just be dismissive.
This is a very insightful answer, thank you. And it sounds like there's a lot of conviction in what you do and what you believe in your work, and that when we persist enough, it will happen.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a question for Rukmini. So Rukmini, you're teaching at the right level. It began as a very small experiment, and in one village. And then it grew into a national policy. So what advice would you give to those who are trying to turn small ideas into lasting systems, big systems?
So I think that when the small experiments were happening, we really didn't have any grand plans. It was just that the parents and the children and the teachers who were there, did they see the change that was happening? Because I think some of this needs to be very infectious, that people who are watching feel, okay, I want to try this as well. We often, whether it is for the teaching at the right level or for the assessment work that we do, we will sometimes, in the early days, call a bunch of people, knowing that some of them are skeptical, not say, what do you think? Because thinking you can do in all kinds of ways. But are you willing to go off and do it? Like in the story that I said, we knew we had only 10 days. And actually to get the full, effect, it needs like 40, 50 days. But still we knew from having done it enough that if you do something for 10 days, you will see a change. And if you see a change that you have done, you believe it much more than any other data or, research papers, okay? So, so I think that's the way that things gather steam. Other people get to hear about it. And it's not like right from the beginning, the results were fantastic. But you could see that it was something different. So at one level, it causes curiosity. Very often illiterate parents said, what exactly are you trying to do? And our very simple tool helped to say, your kid is here, we want to take them to there. And then they became very supportive, saying, okay, what do you want me to do? So when you see a problem, I think, and you're beginning to solve it, there are other people watching. Mm-hmm. We are a very crowded country, so you have no privacy. Everybody's in your business anyway, all the time, right? And giving you all kinds of advice, some of which is good. But I find that people who are skeptical and critical about your work are actually your best assets. Mm-hmm. Because if they get converted, then you're home.
Wow, so what we heard just now is the courage to act, no matter how big or small that is. That is the first step that we need to take for a big change.
And the second one is actually hearing from their stories. You'll see a simple dot of curiosity and passion could actually ignite to a bigger actions, and then we can take it to national levels. But from our audience here, we have educators, and as young, we have students from under 20 years old. I think they will also be curious. When we're trying to reach a goal, somehow we'll also lose hope. How do you really motivate yourself to keep going?
So, doing something alone can be kind of, probably in the Olympics, you have to go alone. You can't go with friends, right? But in other things, I think that it's a natural tendency to talk to your friends about what you're doing, to kind of see what they say, and so on. So I feel like one of the ways that we've kept the hope up actually is because if enough people are doing something, then there's always some gains and there's some losses. But you can benefit from other people's gains when your own situation is not that good. So I'm a big believer of doing something together because there will be cross-sharing. We work in many states in India, and sometimes if the climate is not hospitable in one place, but it is in some other place, so you don't give up hope. I think success as well, if you have a simple metric and a simple thing you're trying to achieve, the success as well gives you motivation. And failure can also be very motivating, like I think what Usha described. If you're able to analyze, what is it behind that failure? So we have, for example, over the life of this teaching at the right level, many randomized control trials that have been done. And I think that the ones that didn't have the big effect were sometimes the most educative, because then you try to figure out, what is it that you need to do next? So I don't know what you asked me, and I don't know if I answered it, but.
And Usha, I know just now you mentioned a lot of up and downs throughout your journey. I think for the youth here as well, we face a lot of judgment throughout our whole journey to select our electives, to find our grad jobs, and more. We have a lot of decisions. What is one piece of advice one personal practice that you have could be delivered to our youth here that we could also take reference from?
Well, I think you only need to make one decision at a time. So I never looked into my future and thought I want to end up as a professor at Cambridge. I looked at the fact I'd like to learn to teach children to read better. Then I looked at the fact that there did seem to be a research gap, so it might be worth doing a PhD. Then I looked at the fact that you could travel to America. That seemed very exciting at the time, and learn from other female professors. And don't, in a way, stress yourself with the far horizon. Just do each step that's available now to your best of your ability. So try and get the maximum benefit, really, from whichever situation you're in right now, and do it to the best of your ability. And then the next step will unfold itself. I really think it's important not to put too much pressure on oneself about becoming, X, Y, Z. It's much better to think how you can help other people at the next step, and then to do it to the best of your ability.
Thank you. This was really inspiring. And lastly, for Angie, so I know your background from being subsidized for your education by CamFit, and now you're the leader of CamFit. I think a lot of our audience here were students, as well as we have leaders as well. For education, it's more like a two-way thing. How do you shift from a beneficiary to actually a leader who give benefits to our all girls here?
You use the word shift. I'm not sure you do. I think for me, when I checked and said who is under 20, there are a lot of people who are under 20. I believe that leadership is at all multiple levels, right? And for me, leadership are there people that are inspired by you, right? You can't be, there's this saying that, if there's nobody's following you, you're taking a walk, you're not leading. So I believe there is leadership at every level. And I just want to be able to say, for me, being a beneficiary of the program, one of the things that it taught me is that opportunities matter. And I could see the difference, me getting an opportunity made for me compared to colleagues who were in the same class who didn't get the chance. And unlike the primary school child who would go and say, I'm better than everybody, I had a lot of guilt conscience because I knew what only separated us was opportunity. So you talk about leadership. The reason why I do what I do with CamFit, with education systems across the world, is I do not want for another child to be left behind like my friends were left behind. Because if you see them now, you would not think we're in the same class. You would not think they're also that good with their education, because it's day and night. But also what really inspires me is to see what happens when people get an opportunity. I told you about the CamFit Association. All these young women, if you think I'm inspiring, just meet any one of my sisters randomly. Like any one of the 350,000. It could be Fiona, who was a vendor who sold vegetables by the street. who is now a lawyer, or Runyararo, who is a medical doctor, or, it's just so phenomenal what education can do. So for me, you ask me, there is no end to the dose of inspiration I get every day from seeing what doors education opens. So,
Wow. And Angie, one more question before we open up the floor for some live questions as well. So, Angie, so you broke a default path. In fact, all three of you did. And for Angie, you defied the expectation of what a girl's life should look like. For our students and parents here, what does courage look like when you're defying expectation?
courage is doing it while you are still afraid and shaking. And I just want to be able to say, one of the very tragic things for me, and that I see across families and communities, is that parents want the best for their children. They want their children to have better than them. At times, they just don't know what that looks like or how that should be. And at times, in their effort for you to have better than them, they run you down and overlook you and all of that. But I will tell you that I had very great supportive parents. What I defied was where I was destined to go. You know, in a community where majority just have to leave school prematurely, going through that was tough because there is no road, there is no path. You're just going one step at a time. And at times you're like, what am I doing to myself? But I just want to be able to say, lean on the village, lean on the support that you've got, and take one day at a time. It helps. And do a lot of singing and dancing too. It sure does. Yeah. Whatever makes you happy, do that a lot.
Wow, so we rise by lifting each other. So any questions from the audience here? I think we can take one before we move on to anyone? Here, yes.
Thank you very much for your very inspiring sharing. I'm Miranda Wong from the Dragon Foundation and the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups. So I think this morning we had a lot of inspirational sharing, really touching hearts of each of us sitting here who may be in education sector or policymakers. But allow me to do something more practical. We all know about dreams. We all know about data. If you have to give one or two pieces of advice to all these leaders, no matter you're the CEO or even just a manager or a very humble clerk, we can drive changes. What would it be? Because there are so many research, including those by Yidan Foundation, but data are always behind. When we are embracing AI and technology, we have, with my due respect, okay, Finland is stopping young people to get access to the social media, right? We are always learning from experiences, but if you are sitting on this chair, day to day you have so many documents, you have to make decisions. What would it be for us to know, okay, let's do this right now? Because all the colleagues will come to you asking for a piece of advice. Thank you very much.
The question. All right. This is my piece of advice, and I'm just telling you what I tell myself every day. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and whoever you're working with, always think about who is being left behind, who is not being heard, who is not being seen. You know, I know in development talk they say who is most marginalized. But as you navigate that, keep it human. Just think if you were in the same space, in the same spot, how does this feel? Don't forget your humanity as you engage with people with less than you or with people who are on the margins. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking they're not serious enough or they're not good enough. And this is how I make decisions at Comfort. I always say, if I can spend this year and I see a child in the village or in the community we work with, and I say to them, did we support you better this year? And they say yes, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. If I say, you know, did we support you faster than we'd normally do? If they say yes, then that's good. If we go there into the community and they say, did you support more of you? Then that's good. So if for me improvement is more, it's better, it's faster. At any time, if the people that you support can say you are doing that, not you claiming, then for me, I think that's the lens that I use.
Usha, root meaning?
Yes, so I think it's very important to be persistent. So on a given day, it might not be that clear what your optimal response should be, but you just take what's on offer for that day and persistently try and do your best at that thing. So I'm not sure really what your question was, but I think it's very important to believe in yourself, to believe that you have abilities, and don't let the context in which you are take you down, because you matter and you have something to offer and you have abilities, and so you should just be persistent in always trying to deliver your best.
So everybody's fathers teaches them something. My father, because I lived away from home, would write me letters, and some letters would be in English and in capital letters. You knew that was a very important letter. When he wrote in our own language and not in capitals, then you knew, okay, that was all about, are you doing okay, blah, 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 and so on. So I think that what today is my capital letter thing that I have to get done, I think to me is quite important. So I make lists. And then you know how we all make lists, right? And sometimes you put things on the list that you've done already so you can check them off. Right? But instead of fooling yourself, what is the capital letter thing that I have to do today or this week? That helps me a lot. Because there are 100 things that you have to do. And at some level, I think putting those other things at a lower priority already clears the path for what you need to do next.
Thank you. I'm sure we have learned a lot from today's sessions, and that you should always believe in your spark. And based on your spark, work persistently. Always believe in yourself and make a checklist. And based on that checklist, do prioritize what you should do today, this week, or maybe in 10 years. So now we're gonna move back the table to you. So while we have our Mentimeter back on the screen, after we've named the challenge, now let's name that tool or mindset that you think you need to overcome the challenge from the first question.
And we just had a mini masterclass from our 3 laureates, learning their mindsets and tools to get to where they are. So we can take a moment and reflect on what we want to do and how we want to get there. What is our first act?
I think for me, it's really having the confidence. Having your own confidence, you won't really get a lot of judgment divert you from different roads. While you have confidence in place within you, you find your path and you will feel comfortable walking in.
I see courage, I see confidence, persistence. Beautiful. Look at this wall.
I'm so excited to see this beautiful wall is now shifting from struggle to strength.
Yeah, and it's shifting from the mindset of I can't to I can try. So that's a little growth mindset right there.
Does the colors mean something? No, it's just colors, okay.
And also, trying is not a small act. Trying is the birthplace of every breakthrough, whether in sports, in classrooms, or in communities.
With the room of number of like 400 participants in the room, I love seeing this dynamic wall that talks about something that we're not struggling, we're actually growing. We have the confidence, we're persistent, we also believe in ourselves. And somehow we need the money, because I just saw the money. But always remember, you are your biggest driver. No matter what you do, what you are facing, always believe in yourself and trust in the growth.
Oh, and can I ask a little question? Do you know why triumph is called triumph? Anyone? Yes, there. Yes, perfect. Did you hear that? It's try and a little oomph. So triumph. All right?
Should we try to say it
Yes.
out loud?
Everyone, let's say it together. Triumph. Louder. Triumph. One more time.
Triumph.
Okay, very good. A big hands for everyone. All right, so this is a beautiful wall right here with a lot of beautiful words and our collective mindset. And now, actually, while you've done asking questions, let our laureates be asking questions to you guys. How about that?
So I'm sure that our laureates are very curious with our audience right now. So moving on to the next question. Our amazing laureates, Meet Me, actually have a questions for you. So what's one unexpected lesson you've learned from your students or your teachers or your peers recently that have inspired you? Rimini, do you have anything to share with the group?
I thought they were going to tell us.
Yeah, but we needed some inspiration.
So this is it's a small story. In my hometown, there's a big river, the Ganges, and there was some group of kids. Right, there was a little class going on near the Ganges, and so I thought, let me ask them something that should be very apparent. So I said, where does the river's water come from? And without even batting an eyelid, they said from the sea. And I was completely unprepared. So I said, why does it come from the sea? So they said, because the sea has a lot of water and the river has a lot of water, and therefore the water comes from the sea. Now, I spent the next half an hour trying to convince them that the water doesn't come from the sea. Nobody was convinced. So I had to go back, look at books, get movies, which I then brought back, and they kind of thought, okay, she's trying hard, so we'll give in. But to date, they're not convinced that the water in the river does not come from the sea.
Wow, and we have a lot of answers.
Science is too hard. Do we have this answer from the group of students?
Wow.
Well, you can see on the screen that everyone learns in their
Old
own
dogs
pace
can
and
Learn new tricks.
methods.
That's a good one.
Oh, everybody has a story, and you don't know what you don't know.
Well, can we actually invite the audience to elaborate on their stories learned? Does anybody want to share? I think we're very curious. Like, how is science hard? And that everyone learns from their own pace and methods. Exactly teaching at the right level.
Any inspiration for you, Rubini,
No,
from the audience?
This is great. This is great. Sometimes speed isn't the most important thing. I think that's
That is very
yeah,
wise.
Yeah.
But also, you're talking. There's an Olympian on stage.
Yes.
I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, we have one volunteer up there. Want to share on her lesson?
Thank you so much. My name is Michelle, and well, I work for the Yidan Prize, but I want to share. I think I want to say I wrote the answer I learned recently, well, from a long time ago, but also recently reminded that I can say no, especially as a young woman. And I learned this because I was recently on a field trip to visit Camp Fed in Zambia, and I read their children's protection policy, in which they had written about how they would like to protect not only children, but vulnerable young women from abuses and from biases and from a lot of things that can really hurt them. And in that children protection policy, I read it's not only about protecting them from these abuses, but also giving them, teaching them and giving them the power, let them recognize that you have the power to protect yourself, to say no to things you're not comfortable with. And I was really touched by that, and it just reminds me of many scenarios and early stories where I had felt really uncomfortable being in one situation, or as a young woman, I was put in really uncomfortable positions to do things or to say things or to answer questions I do not want to address. And that, just seeing that sentence really reminded me that we all have power within ourselves to not only persist, but also to quit and to say no to things we don't want to. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle, for the beautiful sharing. How about we move on to other questions? Usha, why don't you ask this question to the audience?
So the question is, what's one truth about yourself that you refuse to compromise even under pressure?
What's that value inside you could never be judged, could never be challenged, and no matter who are defying you, you still hold that believe yourself.
Yeah, I really hate unfairness. So I'm pleased that was the first answer. I cannot tolerate unfairness. And when people use positions of power to behave unfairly,
Being
I
kind.
find that very bad.
Being kind. Integrity, optimism, dignity. I am being loved. I deserve a seat at the table.
Wow, when we scroll down a little bit, we got some funny answers. My need for sleep. Well, sleep is also a basic right, everybody.
That's true. Oops. Other than unfairness, Usha, like, is there any answer here where you really, really resonate? Other than
Other answers, being kind is very important. It costs nothing to be kind in life. And everybody's a valuable member of our society, and you should just always strive to be kind to others. I think that's very important.
everybody matters, and we don't know what each other's battles are, so be kind to each other and support each other.
I think one answer really stands out to me as well. It's I'm being loved. I think as our laureates shared their stories, they mentioned a very key thing, that being in a community. I think no matter what ups and downs, what's happening in the society, always remember that thing, that you're not alone. You're constantly in a group of people that always support you. So no matter what your role is, make sure to talk with your peers, take a laugh, and the community is always here for you. And that's the definitions of community strength.
That's right. So with this, shall we move on to the last one from Angie?
Yes. Angie, what's your question?
Well, are you still awake? Can we read it together? So when I put up my hand, you say the word, right?
Where do you draw your strength from?
Here you go.
Where do you draw your strength from? Oh. I think somebody's wife should see that. Wow. I like this. You know, you remember the first question when I said where or who? I like that people are kind of like covering both where, who, and what. Yeah. Wow. You know, I didn't see anybody write money. Because we had money on all Mentimeters before, right? Wow.
So
And I
actually-
just want to say there's no correct answer, right? It's just, you know, where do you get that stamina, that strength, that energy from?
There's absolutely no correct answer.
Yeah.
Girlfriend?
Oh,
Right, girlfriend.
Oh, who's that?
How many girlfriends do you have?
How many girlfriends do you need?
Please come and see me after this. Whoever wrote girlfriends, please come and see me. We need to talk on why you need so many. We need to talk, like serious talk.
There's a really powerful one commenting, looking back at how far I have come.
Yeah.
I think so far from our laureate stories, I'm so impressed like how far they've come, how many up and downs they have gone through, and each of the challenges that they have defeated by their own and with their community. And that's something that all of us should always remember, to look back and also look forward at the same time.
Yeah, and just remember this, you are older today than you were yesterday, right? So one of the things that I tell myself is if I could do this when I was younger, Today I'm older, I know more, I know better, I can do it again. So always think about that. You're older than you were when you did all the things that you did. So every day is an opportunity to do it better.
Well, on that note, I think Angie celebrated her birthday 2 days ago.
You see, do I look older?
Can we just say happy birthday? Like,
Happy birthday!
Nice.
Well, it's so nice that I think we're having such incredible exchange between our laureates and audience. So right now, we've heard the stories, we've also named our growth, and we found our resolve. So while we learn from our audience and laureates, I really want the audience, while you name the struggles, you've named the actions, and now we're actually turning it into practical actions. Something new that you will actually do it in 2026. Any kind of smallest experiments, whether small or big, you are part of the change. So let us know what changes you would like to start in 2026.
So yes, describe your smallest experiment. Sleeping more. That's important. I like how all these are so far is very health driven. Join the 5 a.m. club.
Well, while you're seeing on the screen, there's no bigger size word. It means that actually each individual in the room here, they all have different actions. And this is the magic. Oh, network is popping up. Okay, now we know. Later on, we'll have the networking sessions. And gym. I think as you are typing on your phone, describing your smallest experiment, I also urge you after when you type your answer, look around you. Talk with your peers, talk with your neighbors. Tell each other what change looked like to you. Because on the screen right now, we have 100 small acts. And each one is so powerful because it's shared. And I think this shared action is actually the definitions of community strength. I'm so glad that we have this dynamic, magical wall of change maker.
And see, the word cloud here is all of your own words, right? And it collectively becomes a bigger thing. So what this means also is that we're all a drop in the ocean. And no matter how big or small of an action we do, it matters. And it changes things. So today, when you walk out of this room, just remember that, it begins with you. And it starts with a small act.
So on behalf of Yidan Prize, we thank you for you being part of this collective experiment in hope. And may the strength and clarity you gain today really drive you forward. No matter where your role is going to be, where you're going to end up, carry that strength, carry that confidence, and go gym and eat greens and go network. Because you are the agents of change. You are the change maker. And today, we will do the change as a community.
So let's keep building and shaping the future together, like how we do on the World Crowd. And we want to end with that education doesn't just prepare young people for the future. It also prepares the future for young people. So this is the power that every educator holds. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of education. So thank you.